Welcome to our show, Hong Kong Brief. Today, we've got some exciting stories lined up for you. First up, despite falling home prices, Hong Kong's rental market is heating up thanks to the Talent Pass program, which has attracted a wave of skilled professionals. Rents have surged, marking the third consecutive month of increases, while home prices continue to decline. Stay tuned to find out more about this interesting trend and its implications for the housing market. Next, Chinese electric vehicle (EV) makers are making a big splash in Hong Kong's retail property market. Brands like Denza and AION are setting up showrooms and related infrastructure, as the city aims to be carbon neutral by 2050. This expansion is driving demand for retail space, and we'll dive into how this is reshaping the market and what it means for the future of EVs in Hong Kong. Lastly, we'll discuss a thought-provoking opinion on the impact of phones and education technology in Hong Kong's classrooms. With concerns over social media, screen time, and edtech affecting children's mental health and academic success, some experts are calling for a ban on phones in schools and a shift towards a screen-free learning environment. We'll explore this perspective and consider its potential benefits and challenges. Please stay tuned for detailed coverage of these stories. Nikkei Asia reports that Hong Kong's rental market is experiencing a significant surge due to the city's Talent Pass program, which aims to attract skilled professionals from mainland China and beyond. The program has driven up the private residential rental index by 1.02% in May, marking a cumulative rise of 2.49% since March, the highest level since January 2020. Louis Chan, CEO of Centaline Property Agency, attributes this surge to the influx of high-income earners, predicting further increases. By the end of May, Hong Kong had attracted 180,000 professionals, far exceeding the annual target of 35,000. Meanwhile, home prices are falling, with the price index for pre-owned homes dropping by 1.2% in May and 12.7% year-on-year. Weak sales volumes and delayed interest rate cuts by the U.S. Federal Reserve are contributing factors. Despite falling property prices, rising rental returns could prompt renters to buy, potentially stabilizing the market. South China Morning Post highlights the burgeoning demand in Hong Kong's retail property market driven by Chinese electric vehicle (EV) makers. Brands like Denza and AION are setting up showrooms and service centers, capitalizing on the city's push towards carbon neutrality by 2050. Denza recently rented a 14,000 square feet showroom in Wan Chai, while AION opened a showroom in Sha Tin with plans for more. Lucia Leung of Knight Frank notes that this trend is driven by Hong Kong's growing EV adoption and proximity to Southeast Asia. However, doubts remain about whether this new demand can revitalize the retail property market, which has seen significant declines. Oliver Tong of JLL points out that the market size may be insufficient to make a substantial impact. Despite the challenges, more EV makers are expected to enter the market, with the government rolling out infrastructure to meet the increasing demand for EV-related facilities. In another piece by South China Morning Post, the detrimental impact of phones and education technology on children's mental health and academic performance is discussed. The article references warnings from the U.S. Surgeon General and UNESCO about the negative effects of social media and edtech dependence. Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, highlights the shift of children's attention from the physical to the virtual world, exacerbating mental health issues. Canadian provinces and Los Angeles have implemented classroom restrictions on mobile phone use, citing serious risks to students' well-being. Despite the proliferation of education apps, there is little evidence that edtech improves learning outcomes. Dr. Kathy Hirsch-Pasek from Temple University found that only 2 out of 120 popular education apps had educational value. The article argues that the belief in technology as a solution has led to significant financial investments in edtech, often at the expense of traditional education methods. In Hong Kong, the overuse of screens has resulted in poor reading comprehension and problem-solving skills among primary school children, making a strong case for banning phones in schools and reducing reliance on edtech. The Sydney Morning Herald reports that the Queen's Wharf Casino and Entertainment Complex in Brisbane is set to partly open on August 29, 2 years behind schedule. The initial phase will include the opening of the main casino floor, several bars, and restaurants. This development will lead to the closure of the existing Treasury Casino. Chief Executive Daniel Finch emphasized a phased rollout to ensure smooth operations and exceptional guest experiences. Public spaces such as the Sky Deck and Miller Park will be among the first to open. The project, costing $3.6 billion, is a joint venture between the Star Entertainment Group and Hong Kong-based enterprises. Concerns about the Star's fitness to hold a casino license in Queensland were also addressed, with Finch assuring that regulatory and government approvals are being meticulously followed. South China Morning Post highlights Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chew's efforts to stimulate the economy and improve livelihoods. Tourism is a key focus, with the aim of boosting GDP and job opportunities. Lee's administration has reopened borders and introduced measures like interim rental housing. Despite geopolitical challenges and a brain drain, the city has seen an influx of new talent, primarily from the mainland. The city's GDP has shown signs of recovery, but issues like mainland China's slowing growth and Western anti-Chinese sentiment pose risks. Jewelry manufacturer Ricky Lam's experience underscores the impact of geopolitics on business, as he had to consider relocating his production line due to fears of rising tariffs. The city's manufacturers have faced significant losses, and stakeholders from German firms have expressed concerns about Hong Kong's focus on security affecting its attractiveness. Another article from the South China Morning Post discusses how Chinese electric vehicle (EV) makers are shifting their focus to Southeast Asia amid tariffs and trade wars with the US and Europe. The region's market for cleaner cars is expected to reach up to $100 billion by 2035. Chinese brands like BYD, Xpeng, and Geely are investing heavily in countries like Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia. Despite the high costs of EVs, the burgeoning middle class in Southeast Asia presents a promising market. However, analysts warn of potential price wars and the need for significant price reductions to attract buyers. Government incentives and local production plans are underway, but concerns about EV range and high interest rates may dampen consumer interest. Nonetheless, Southeast Asia remains a crucial market for Chinese EV manufacturers, offering substantial growth potential. South China Morning Post: French voters cast their ballots in a crucial parliamentary election that could see the far-right National Rally, RN, form the first far-right government in France since World War II. President Emmanuel Macron called for the snap election after his centrist alliance faced a crushing defeat in the European elections, with Marine Le Pen's RN leading the charge. Polls suggest RN holds a comfortable lead, with their high-spending economic program and anti-immigration stance resonating with many. If RN secures an absolute majority, it could usher in a period of unprecedented turbulence in French diplomacy, especially with Macron and RN's Jordan Bardella vying for the right to represent France on the global stage. This election could significantly alter France's stance in the EU and its approach to the Russia-Ukraine war, given Le Pen's historical pro-Russian sentiments. Nikkei Asia: China's manufacturing activity contracted for the second consecutive month in June, with a purchasing managers' index reading of 49.5, indicating a stagnant economy. The persistent property slump and insufficient domestic demand are major challenges, despite Beijing's efforts to revive the property market through measures like buying unsold homes and cutting mortgage rates. Investment in property fell by 10.1% in the first 5 months of the year, and industrial production growth slowed to 5.6% in May from 6.7% in April. The market is now looking forward to the upcoming third plenum of Communist Party leaders, hoping for reform measures that could stimulate the economy. However, economists warn that the focus might remain on manufacturing, innovation, and self-sufficiency rather than boosting domestic demand, potentially prolonging the constraints that have hampered growth over the past decade. South China Morning Post. Joe Lusby, former general manager of Penguin China, played a pivotal role in bringing Chinese literature to the international stage. One of her early successes was acquiring the rights to Wolf Totem by Jiang Rong, a novel that captivated readers with its allegorical critique of the Cultural Revolution. Lusby's knack for identifying promising works also led to the international success of Midnight in Peking by Paul French. Her career at Penguin saw the publication of diverse titles, from Michelle Obama's memoir to children's classics like Peppa Pig, reflecting her belief in the future audience for these works. Now running her own consulting agency, Pixie Bee, in Hong Kong, Lusby continues to navigate the literary world, promoting works like The Three-Body Problem and managing digital rights for Harry Potter in China. Her unique blend of editorial, legal, and agent skills has made her a significant figure in the literary community, fostering a space for both established and emerging voices. SCMP opinion: Hong Kong Disneyland has weathered a stormy period marked by social unrest, a pandemic, and political changes, leading to economic challenges, especially for tourism-dependent venues. Despite these setbacks, the 52% Hong Kong government-owned theme park has recently reported an 83% reduction in losses, amounting to 356 million Hong Kong dollars, thanks to a post-pandemic recovery. Visitor numbers surged by 87% to 6.4 million, driving a 156% increase in revenue to 5.7 billion Hong Kong dollars. This turnaround suggests the park might soon escape a decade-long streak of annual losses, buoyed by a strong rebound in mainland and Southeast Asian visitors. Managing Director Michael Moriarty expressed optimism, highlighting record-breaking financial indicators in the March quarter. As Hong Kong Disneyland approaches its third decade, there are calls to revisit expansion plans for the Penny's Bay site, capitalizing on the city's integration with the Greater Bay Area and its vast population. Bloomberg: the landscape of out-of-court restructurings is increasingly polarized, with some creditors securing favorable deals while others are left behind. Clearlake Capital Group-backed Valcor Packaging recently struck a restructuring deal, providing $110 million in fresh capital and swapping certain debt at over 90 cents on the dollar for a select group of creditors. Others, who can participate in the new money raise, receive new debt at around 70 cents, while non-participants are pushed down the repayment order, swapping at about 60 cents. Michael Handler of King & Spalding notes that creditor pain is felt early in such deals, often prompting lenders to sell out rather than wait. S&P Global Ratings warns that non-participating creditors in similar transactions, like those involving Rackspace and GoTo Group, could face significant losses. Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court's recent 5-4 ruling against Purdue Pharma's $6 billion opioid settlement has profound implications, signaling that bankruptcy courts cannot force claimants to release their claims against third parties, thereby weakening U.S. courts' ability to endorse coercive restructuring deals. South China Morning Post: the chairman of Hong Kong Social Workers Registration Board, Ng Yat-ming, has resigned along with several other members, amid criticism that these departures are a protest against government reform plans. Ng's resignation precedes the anticipated passage of legislative amendments to expand the board and increase government-appointed members. Critics argue that these changes, aimed at preventing individuals convicted of national security offenses from registering as social workers, undermine the sector's professional autonomy. Outspoken social worker Edith Saikit warns that the reforms will have long-term negative impacts on the industry, affecting advocacy and morale. Consultant Lao Shukai describes the resignations as a protest against a board previously dominated by pro-democratic members, which the government seeks to restructure to ensure professional standards and national security. Despite the turmoil, Labor and Welfare Secretary Chris Sun Yukon maintains that the board's operation will continue unaffected, with the new amendments set to be enacted following the legislative process. The Independent reports that the Chinese government has reassured most Taiwanese that they can visit China without concerns, despite Taiwan's recent travel warning. Taiwan had advised its citizens to avoid traveling to China unless necessary due to Beijing's new legal guidelines threatening severe punishments, including the death penalty, for Taiwan independence activists. The Chinese Taiwan Affairs Office clarified that these guidelines target only separatists, not the general Taiwanese population. This comes amid heightened tensions, as China views Taiwan as a breakaway province and has threatened to reunify it by force if needed. The One China principle, which asserts Beijing as the sole legitimate Chinese government, is recognized by most nations to avoid economic repercussions from China. Taiwan Plus News highlights rising tensions as China increases its military presence near Taiwan. The U.S., while acknowledging the One China principle, maintains informal relations with Taiwan and does not recognize Beijing's sovereignty over the island. An intelligence report suggests China might be preparing for a potential invasion of Taiwan by 2027. Beijing's discontent with Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te, whom it labels as a separatist, further fuels the conflict. The situation remains volatile, with both sides preparing for possible escalations. The South China Morning Post delves into the potential global repercussions of China's ongoing property crisis, which was discussed in a recent U.S. Congress hearing. While the crisis has led to financial strain on local governments and defaults by developers, experts believe the impact will largely remain within China's borders. The central government is exploring various solutions to manage the crisis. However, if the situation worsens, it could affect foreign companies operating in China and lead to reduced infrastructure investments, job cuts, and lower consumer spending. Despite these risks, analysts consider a severe spillover unlikely due to effective government measures and the relatively small portion of offshore debt involved. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Got a book so big and bright, open it and take a flight. Learn about the stars and see, everything is here for me. Flip the pages one by one, knowledge under the sun. From dinosaurs to galaxies, a world of endless mysteries. Encyclopedia, yay, facts and fun all day. From A to Z, let's see, curious minds run free. secrets that you want to keep. Time will fly and you will find magic lies in every line. To run free line, every line's run free. Animals and history, science full of mystery.